It's Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. Since 2010, your weekly source for independent New York Red Bulls news and opinion. Now, from the Joe Goldstein studio, here's your host, Mark Fishkin.
It's Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. New York played down to the level of a poor New England Revolution side and made preventable mistakes in a 2-1 road loss that ends New York's 4-match unbeaten streak. It's Seeing Red. I'm Mark Fishkin here with Michael Battista. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well. I can't believe we fell for the trap game again.
Once again, it happens there all the time. Tonight on Seeing Red, we'll pick through the wreckage that was that 2-1 road loss in Foxboro. Do we have a Bull of the Week? Stay tuned. We'll look at the second round of the U.S. Open Cup and local teams taking part. We have a preview of the revived Chicago Fire coming to Harrison Saturday night. A chat with your friend and mine, Red Bulls radio analyst Steve Jolley, and your emails. Before we really get into it, though, the liking, the subscribing, please do those two things, won't you? New York has won 8 times in 30 years in Foxboro in all competitions, and coming out of the box, you can see why, because the first half of this match was ugly, Mike.
Do we count? We don't count Harvard in the Open Cup, do we?
I don't think so.
Look, it was, man, I can't believe I had to watch a game where I was sick last weekend, and I'm like, maybe this will, make me feel better. And I'm like, why is Carlos Coronel getting pelted with shots against a team whose only goal is an own goal? What are we doing?
Yeah. What are we doing?
It was insane because the way that the Red Bulls came out, they started the game pretty well. They were peppering whoever the goalkeeper was for
Ivicic,
Ivicic for New England. They were peppering him, and then as the first half wore on, I didn't like how much confidence New England was getting. I didn't like how they were able to run up the right side. Raheem Edwards and Hack were just doing nothing and getting bullied.
Yeah, they were getting bullied, and it was Raheem Edwards who, listen, we've talked about Raheem Edwards for a number of weeks in a row now. Raheem Edwards was brought in as a stopgap measure between Marcelo Morales and Omar Valencia to get a veteran presence, someone that can play left back and can get up and down the wing. And Raheem Edwards can do that.
He can.
In this match, he also passed to the other team a whole hell of a lot. And in the 27th minute, hacked down a Revs player right outside the box. And, as we talked about last week in preparation for the Revs game, there's one player above all else that you have to look out for on New England, and that's Carl's heel. And he is easily the class of New York. And they're, I'm kind of fond of saying this, but no one would have stopped Carl Heel's free kick. That was dead solid, upper 90, top bins, picture perfect. What was very imperfect, of course, was Edwards blowing up one of the Revs just outside the 18 on a foul that didn't really look to be needed. So New York goes down in the later stages of the first half. And for the second straight game, Mike, we see one of these goals that have kind of gone like the antithesis of how the Red Bulls seemingly want to play, which is up the wing, headers in, balls lofted into the box, Choupo holding whatever. But for the second straight game, New York goes right up the gut and scores.
No, and it was stoppage time too.
Yes.
And this came after New England had their rush, had their chances, and then finally converted. So getting that right before halftime was solid. Not only that, it was right up the middle. It was a chaotic moment in the middle because I didn't know who the ball was going to because Emil Forsberg was right there. Then you had Choupo just where is he coming from? That's a lot of strike on a ball. And the goalkeeper wasn't even looking for it. He just stood there still. So it was a perfect chaos counter moment.
A perfect chaos counter. And again, Peter Stroud involved in a goal. We saw it with Yengar a couple of weeks ago at Red Bull Arena against Orlando, and we saw it. We saw it here that that instinct to get the ball into the middle proved him right. But again, class from Forsberg, class from Choupo. Choupo, knows what to do when he gets the ball that close to goal, and New York goes in, and you think, okay, all right, this is okay. Yeah. I give so much credit to Sandro because clearly recognized that the 5-man back wasn't working only because there was so little quality going forward. And so he switched up. His formation at halftime, added another attacker, went to 4 in the back, brought on Serge Goma for his longest stint in a Red Bulls uniform in years. And especially once Sofo came on in the 70th minute, you really start to see New York have its best play of the day.
Not only that, I was terrified when I saw Serge come on because why are you bringing someone who's injury worries onto turf? God. But he got lucky because I forget what minute it was in. I think it was like the 65th. There was that moment where it looked like a PK was going to get awarded because of him. And I thought that's really what he needs right now to give a PK up against New England. Man, it would sure stink if someone did that.
That would be really bad. A bad way to happen in the second half. Yeah,
it'd be really bad. But no, he got away with. He didn't even get away with it. It wasn't PK.
Yeah.
He looked good. Sofo looked good. Last time we saw Sofo, I think, was in that start against Nashville, right? So overall, I'm liking what I'm seeing from the younger guys. I don't know if they are ready to be starters, but considering the fact of what our attack is right now, we don't have Lewis Morgan or anything right now. Right. I'm happy. I wish one of them would have scored against a terrible team like New England, but that seems to be tough. And also it was terrible weather, so I don't know.
Goma goes left of the net. Sofo goes left of the net. And you really get the sense that with more playing time, they're going to straighten that out. But what I was really heartened in seeing in the second half, 70th into the 80th minute, is a number of counterattacks where you had Sofo and Goma and Forsberg all on the run against a retreating Revs defense. And again, the finishes went wanting, but New York, I felt like they did enough. They got in the right positions. The ball just wasn't going in. And then, of course, you can see Sean Nealis's awareness perk up a half second before, he chops down a player in the box in the 96th minute. And it was obviously this, New York has gotten a couple of goals and penalty kicks on VAR already this season, especially last week against Toronto. This was the VAR gods take a thing away and give a thing to the Revs. And Heel obviously did what he did, and off you go. I mean, I thought this was a cagey match in the first half. New York definitely on the back foot. I thought it was a lot more evenly played in the second half. But at the end of the day, a mistake in injury time. Nealis, I know, feels terrible about it. Both Schwartz said it wasn't good enough in the post game. Emil Forsberg says it wasn't good enough in the post game. And if this team is really going to compete, I mean, they're ninth this week. They're above the line. Again, we're 6 weeks in. It doesn't mean much. There have been a lot better Red Bull teams that have lost in New England. But to do it like this, just not great, Bob.
Getting 1 point against this team wouldn't be good enough.
No.
And I don't want to say that like Sean Nealis is like, man, that penalty's rough, because you knew exactly what he was trying to do. He was trying to get the ball and he just whiffed it. Like it happened like 9 times out of 10, he gets that ball. And this was just the number 10, which is a shame. So I can't hold that against him. I've seen worse penalties given. With this, it's tough because if they had just got 1-1, I would be fuming. Now I'm just sad. Now I'm not even angry. I'm just disappointed. And also, I'm going to be honest with you. It doesn't help that I hate Gil's penalty kick, because I'm like, why are we allowing this stutter step crap? Why are they allowed to do it?
Yes.
I'm so tired of it. He
Yes.
stops fully.
Yes.
And no one, every time someone brings it up, they go, "You're saying it because you got scored on." Yes.
Well, no one should get scored on that way.
No one. Or we should allow goalkeepers to move on the line.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just annoying to me, and no one does anything about it. It's like the overtime rule in the NFL. No one complains about it until you lose by it.
Right. And then you're going straight to the rules committee. And how can we fix this for next time? Again, as I said, much better Red Bull teams have gotten the same result up there. The team had points in 4 straight games. That came to an end. It's only their second loss of the year. They're 2-2-2. I think, universal agreement that the energy has to be a whole lot better from the start. And again, it speaks to what are the real expectations of this team in a world where the team doesn't have Lewis Morgan and doesn't have Cam Harper, who is an emerging goal-scoring threat and not a fully matured goal-scoring threat. We've talked in recent weeks about the lack of idea in the offense, the lack of attacking players making runs, diagonal runs into the box, the lack of an additional meaningful scoring threat that takes the defense away from Choupo. So I know that there are a lot of Red Bull fans that are really, really undone about this, and I get it. But it's still week 6, and yes.
Can I go on a small rant because
rant.
That was Sandro Schwartz's 40th game in charge.
Yes. Yep.
Do you want to talk about his record as coach since he took over?
You have it, I'm sure. I don't have it in front of me. I know it made the rounds in the socials. I know it's not great. It's probably close to even numbers of wins, losses, and draws.
It's
okay, but at the same time, he hasn't had his first choice team out for most of his time here.
Yeah.
And so
here it is. Okay. I got it. So it's 40 games, 13 wins, 16 draws, 11 losses. And I'm seeing an insane amount of people going, "Man, we should really get the not good enough banner back." I'm like, Are you insane?
No.
Like, we were just in LA 2 months ago.
Yes.
We've had good runs with him. We've not been good when our guys are injured and when the team is dealing with international breaks because MLS decides we're going to play through international breaks. That's not his fault. And you want to go after someone, go after Jokin and go after the front office for not going after the right depth. We don't have the depth of this team to go into the second half. We've consistently lost games and lost points in the 75th minute plus. That's not on Sandro. Sandro does very well, and I'm going to stand by that 100%.
Yeah, and that's points in 28 out of 40 games, right?
Yeah.
And that's not terrible. And so 29. Thank you. 29 out of 40 games. That's certainly good enough to make the playoffs in MLS. And in Sandro's case, it's good enough to get to a ball off the left goalpost in MLS Cup, right? I mean,
yeah.
So I listen. I appreciate when the team loses, it's upsetting, and I appreciate when the team loses and concedes goals to a team that has yet to score a goal this season. That's upsetting.
Yes.
And I appreciate when they lose games that they shouldn't lose. It's upsetting, right? And I think the bigger challenge is based on the roster that we have right now, which isn't going to change till the summer window, right? They can only get players back, right? They're not going to bring any more new players in before the summer window.
Yeah, we don't do that.
It's okay, and they have points in 4 of 6 games. They're playing on the road. I think the bigger challenge is, and you're going to hear me talk about this with Steve Jolley in a few minutes, is this is the second straight game that they have played to the level of their opponent, right? They played to the level of a kind of crappy Toronto team, and they got a brilliant passing combination and a fortunate that the Toronto defender was a step behind the rest of his line to get a win there. And they, could have walked out of here with a point, walked out of Gillette with a point, and they didn't. So it's really too soon to say the sky is falling. I understand that it's upsetting to lose to a team below you on the table. The stakes, they're going to be playing a much better team this weekend, and hopefully they'll play to that level. But I think the recognition of a healthy Sofo and a healthy Goma and perhaps a healthy Victor Bogash, who got his first goal playing with RB2 this past weekend on a lovely deflection, right? Mike was one of the tens of people that was at Red Bull Arena.
I literally counted how many people were in the stadium because I've done it so much for lower division. I was like, and I look at Anthony Merced and Gary Redmond. I go, there's like 195. They go, how do you know that? I counted.
I counted every single one. Yeah, that was.
He looked good. He looked good. Julian Hall looked good, and the fact of the matter is, the first team players who are playing between both the reserves and the first are looking good. That's all you can do. It's not USL anymore where we're going to see like super teams down there. So exactly what we have a 16-year-old who just, who can now play at night. And we have a Polish guy who, turned us down at first and he's doing well. That's great.
Yeah, I think it's good to see Bogash score for the two team. All right. Do you have I want to put this match away and not talk about it ever again. Do you have a bull on the afternoon where New York doesn't win?
I'll give it to Carlos. I saw some of those saves and how angry he was at his team.
So angry.
It almost feels like a pity, and I don't mean it to be, because the team was only in it for as long as they were because of him.
Mm-hmm.
And I will give him the respect he deserves for that. So yeah,
I'm torn between the traveling fans who made the trip to Foxboro. That is not a short trip. That is when you recognize just how long the state of Connecticut is, because you're in it for hours and hours and hours.
It hurts.
It takes a long time to get to Foxboro, and then to be in poor weather. I think it was low 40s and rain, and meanwhile it was 75 degrees in New York at the time, at least for part of the afternoon.
It felt like there was only like 3,000 people in the stadium overall.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a cauldron, but nevertheless, traveling fans. And I guess I'll also give mine to Choupo, because he had the wherewithal to put the ball in the net, and that's what he's done. And not only with the starts he's given the team, not only with the goals he's given the team, but also with the minutes he's given the team. It's pretty good so far. I mean, and they're scoring goals from the run of play, which is good stuff. I'm going to cede the floor to my colleague here to talk a little bit about the second round of the Open Cup, which is coming up as we record Tuesday tonight. It seemed like in the first round, Mike, a lot of the local teams departed the competition, which is unfortunate. But what do we have? What do we have here coming up?
I'm starting to realize you have me on specifically for the Open Cup.
No, it literally, the rotation worked just that way.
This is, baby, the soccer gods know what they want.
That's right.
Last round was tough on the locals. Only 2 local, 3 if you count Hartford, but 2 locals got through. Westchester beat FC Motown, but that was a local versus a local.
Yep.
We saw NJ Alliance take Chattanooga Red Wolves 2 penalty kicks.
Shame.
That was close. It was a fun game at NJIT. Besides that, Long Island Rough Riders took Charlotte Independence to extra time but lost. And we saw the New York Shockers of Albany get crushed by Hartford.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think of the other one. New York Renegades got crushed by Columbus Crew 2. The sole survivor of the amateurs is Astoria Queens.
Yes.
3-time U.S. Open Cup champions, New York Pan-Cyprian Freedoms.
Always there. Always a
knocked off Peter Mangione and FC Cincinnati 2 via penalty kicks.
That's a good scalp. That's good.
It is. So what we have now in this round is another local derby between Westchester, New York, and Astoria Queens, when the Westchester SC hosts New York Pan-Cyprian Freedoms tomorrow at 7 p.m.
That's Wednesday night.
Wednesday night. That is going to be on YouTube for free. That is going to be a phenomenal match because Westchester is coming into its own. They just won their first league game 3-1 on the road over the weekend. Kamar Lawrence is looking very well, like adjusted in there.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of ex-pro talent, ex-USL talent on that team coming together. They still need to find that full-on groove. Meanwhile, the good thing about the New York Panthers Supreme Freedoms this round is they didn't have their full squad going to Kentucky because the trip was so tough in midweek. Now they just have to go upstate a little bit. So they can get a couple people.
Mount Vernon is not upstate.
Okay, if you ask someone from New York City, it's not to me.
I'm sorry. Westchester County is part of the New York metropolitan area. It's not upstate.
Yes.
And then, of course, the other. So this is the second round, and the Red Bulls will be entering in the third round. So, and they will be playing. No, the fourth round.
So the third round will see the rest of USL Championship enter.
My apologies.
After that is the round of 32,
and that's where MLS.
That's where MLS will enter, along with New York Red Bulls and New York City FC, and they will probably play. If Westchester survives, one of them plays them.
Yeah.
If not, I assume it's going to be someone like Pittsburgh or God, I don't know, Detroit City maybe. We might have to go to Keyworth, in which case, oh God, I'm going.
That'd be a special trip.
And real quick, the one game of this round that I think everyone does need to watch is tomorrow,
Wednesday,
when Chattanooga FC hosts Chattanooga Red Wolves at Finley Stadium. The same Chattanooga FC, which New York Red Bulls U23 beat in the NPSL Championship back in 2014 at Red Bull Arena. They are still around, and they're now pro. And they are going after the team from USL League One that tried to kill them because they went pro because the Chattanooga Red Wolves were created solely to run them out of business.
And they did not do that.
They did not do that. They only made them stronger.
It seems an anachronism of American soccer that Chattanooga, Tennessee has two lower division teams playing in different leagues. It makes no sense whatsoever.
And New York City can't even handle having one lower division team.
Where will they play? All right, let's get into it. This Saturday at 7:30 p.m. at the CIS in Harrison, the Red Bulls host a new look Chicago Fire. Let's show you all the goodies. Here we go. Chicago has had a fantastic start to 2025. They're 3-1-2 for 11 points, which is only good enough for fourth in the East, which speaks to how strong the Eastern Conference is right now. They've scored 13 and allowed 10. Yes, Mike?
I didn't realize it was that competitive.
Yeah, no, it's a very competitive Eastern Conference. They've scored 13 and allowed 10, so they score a lot of goals but concede plenty. They're also 3-1 on the road, which is the best road record in the Eastern Conference. They've only played 2 home games so far this season. They are second in MLS. After playing teams that can't hit the side of the barn, now they're getting into teams that actually score. So they have the second best attack in MLS with 2.2 goals per game. They lead MLS in first half goals, and we don't have to explain to you how important it is to get the first goal in any MLS game, but that is definitely the case with Chicago, and that's a big reason why they are so strong. In addition, they are first in MLS in goals in the last 15 minutes of games. 4 of their 13 goals have been there. So they score early and they score late, and that's the Chicago Fire. A lot of changes for Greg Berhalter's side, and yes, it is really strange to say Greg Berhalter's side in MLS, but that is absolutely the case. Jack Elliott, former Philadelphia Union, finds himself on the back line, as well as a misspelled on my document here, Omar Gonzalez. I'll take that up with our editors. 36-year-old Omar Gonzalez is playing here, along with Sam Rogers, an American center back who came from Lillestrøm in Norway to come and play. Other additions over this offseason that have made an impact. Leo Barrasso, the right back, is only 19 years old. Chicago spent $1.5 million to bring him in from Sporting Club de Portugal's B side. Jonathan Bamba came to the Chicago Fire from Celta de Vigo for almost $4 million. He's from Cote d'Ivoire, 29-year-old. left wing, and Philip Zinkernagel, which is one of the best all-time names in MLS, a 30-year-old Dane, came from Club Brugge for almost $1 million. He is on the right as well. Okay, players that have departed include Wyatt Omsberg, who the Red Bulls played last week in New England, Fabian Herbers, former Philadelphia Union, who had now joined Montreal on a free, Gaston Jimenez, who spent a number of years in the Fire, central defensive midfield. He departed MLS, and Ariel Lassiter, Rocket Roy Lassiter's son, is now joined the Portland Timbers on a free. Themes when thinking about the Chicago Fire: Chef GGG. For years, the Fire have been the butt of every joke. A sorry franchise, seemingly getting worse every year. However, this offseason saw a drastic change on and off the field. The new DPs have helped, but the biggest help was the hiring of former U.S. men's national team coach Greg Berhalter. And while he was not the most popular coach with the national team, although he was very successful, there's no doubt that Berhalter has always been one of the best head coaches in MLS, and he's proving that with the massive improvement Chicago has shown this season, having already won more road games this year than they did all of last year, and that's 3. New faces, new eras. Chicago's made reinforcements both on and off. Jonathan Bamba and Philip Zinkernagel have helped improve the team exponentially. With the disinterested Xherdan Shaqiri finally back in Switzerland, the Chicago attack has been reignited. Homegrown by Gutierrez has been able to provide better service for DP striker Hugo Kuipers, who already has half the number of goals he scored all of last season in 25 games. So that's a look at Chicago. This is the 76th all-time meeting between these two teams. Chicago, of course, not an OG team. They joined the MLS in 1998 and promptly won MLS Cup. The Red Bulls trailed 36-and-16 all time, and New York is winless in 5 against Chicago, which is nutty when you consider how bad the Fire have been over the last number of years. And Mike is covering his face, although if you're watching on YouTube, you cannot see that right now. The last time the Red Bulls beat Chicago, you have to go back to 2022 on, stay with me, on the, when Patrick Lamala had a brace, including one in the 91st minute to give the Red Bulls the victory. That's in April of 2022. The last time the Red Bulls have beaten the Fire in Harrison, you have to go back 4 years to May 1st of 21, a 2-0 win. BWP is the all-time leading scorer. Duncan, Harper, Yengar, and Morgan each have a goal all-time. They're the active leaders, although to be frank, none of the, we know Morgan will not be playing. Okay. It's a 4-3-3 for GGG. Chris Brady, 21-year-old American keeper in the back. We do know Andrew Gutman, of course, is now playing left back for the Chicago Fire. He who spent such a fantastic year with the Red Bulls on loan from Atlanta. Jack Elliott, former Philadelphia, is in the back line. There's Sam Rogers and Leo Barrasso, who I mentioned earlier, the Portugal youngster, teenager, only 19 years old. The center mids, Romanique Koumane from Mali, 28, has a goal so far. Mauricio Pineda, a 27-year-old American. And Sergio Oragel, 19-year-old American as well. There's Zinkernagel. He's on the right on my sheet. 2 goals and 1 assist. Jonathan Bamba with 3 assists so far. And Hugo Kuipers has 5 goals in 6 games this season, and he is absolutely one to watch. Kellen Acosta is on this team. He is likely out. Brian Gutierrez, young American, is likely out. Chris Muller, who we know from his time in Orlando, may be out for this game. And so, my friend, New York, Chicago, it gets a lot harder than what we've seen over the last 2 weeks in terms of quality of opponent. Based on what we've seen so far over the last 2 games, it's very hard to be optimistic about what New York might be able to do here.
I mean, look, I liked better when I could just joke that Tom Barlow was on Chicago.
Yeah,
we have to actually consider. We actually have to consider the team good. I don't like it. I don't like this at all. God,
This is a high-powered attack. This is a
it's-
high-powered, proficient attack.
what year is it? At the end of the day,
2001?
yeah, the Central Division champions.
Right.
Look, what I'm going to say here is that God bless Greg Berhalter because he's doing miracles. I don't understand.
They did bring in 8 new players. I mean, yes, he's doing
But
very well.
I bet you they joined because of him.
Yeah.
I bet you he was a big part of that.
Yep.
I can't even imagine that this team is like turning around this quick, going from like perennial wooden spoon to like being a force 6 games in. And it could still all fall apart. God, don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is that like this is a game that's I feel like New York is not ready for because I don't think our defense is playing well enough right now to hold back Chicago. And I want to just put soap in my mouth.
It's kind of strange. Yeah.
It's very strange. I like especially how quick they can be. I love just how merciless they can be, like on the counters. They just don't let up. And they don't even need to use their subs that much. They don't have to score late. They just score. You said they could score early and score late. I feel like they do all their damage in the first half.
Yeah.
And then they just like ride it out. And we know Red Bull is not a team to play from behind because they can't finish games.
Right.
So yeah, this isn't. What's the opposite of a trap game? Like this is it.
It's not a good matchup.
It's not a good matchup at all.
Here's Chicago's last 5. They're unbeaten in 5, by the way. A 2-2 draw against DC where Kuipers had a brace. A 3-1 win at Dallas where Gutman scored, Barrasso scored, and Kuipers had a 91-minute penalty. A 2-1 win at Toronto, Gutman and Kuipers. A 3-1 win at Vancouver, which I think was the match that everyone went, oh, okay, this team has something. Kuipers scored in the first minute. Zinkernagel and Kwame scored in the 95th. And then last week, a 1-1 home draw against Montreal. So
a lot of Canadian.
Huh?
A lot of Canadian in 5 games.
Yeah, right. 3 Canadian teams in 3 weeks in MLS. That's weird.
That's very weird.
But yeah, I mean, New York is going to have to play lockdown defense, and we've seen them play lockdown defense.
We've done that.
We saw it in Atlanta, right? The Atlanta game was literally here is speed and attack and speed of thought, and we're going to run you off the field. And New York was able to lock it down. I don't think this is a week to start in a 4-man back line. I think this is a week to absorb pressure and hit. And again, they've given up 10 goals in 6 games. Their defense is not the most solid in the league. So if we see the kind of counterattack goals that we have seen the last 2 weeks, right, that all flow either to Forsberg or through Forsberg, I think New York has a chance. The weather is going to be cloudy with on and off showers after midnight, low of 46 with a chance of rain 40%. So this is not, I mean, it's a weird weather week anyway. It's hot, it's cold, weather. It's sunny, it's rainy, it's Chicago weather. So my friend, let's talk about what we might see Saturday night in Harrison, New Jersey.
New York has not lost a game by more than 1 goal this year.
Of their 2 losses.
Yeah. I am going to say that changes.
Oh.
As much as I just defended Sandro, I'm not worried about him. It's more what the team is right now. I don't think we have anyone returning from injury right now. Like, not anybody. So, of what we have, I don't think we can hold back Chicago. And I think that they're going to score like once or twice in the first half, and they can get a third late. I think it's going to be like a 3-1 loss in Harrison because I don't know who will score. If it's the ex Red Bull on the bench, I'm going to throw myself into the Passaic River.
Okay. I can certainly see Kuipers scoring. I can certainly see Andrew Gutman playing a role. He has a couple of goals this year from left back, so
he's always been good.
He's always been good. we should have just bought him. Although then we wouldn't have gotten John Tolkien to
He was the great incubator because he kind of taught John Tolkien how to do that role.
Underrated American player for sure.
100%.
I'm going to call it an entertaining 2-2 draw that will leave both teams frustrated like we saw against Orlando. And while it's not a win, it's not a loss. I don't think this is a week that if New York struggles in any way to think that New York is deficient. I think Chicago's just that. I think Chicago's a great team and they're going to be a contender.
We're both saying 4 goals.
We are both saying 4 goals. We're just saying them in slightly different combinations.
In slightly different ways.
Yes. All right. When we're back on Seeing Red, we're going to talk to your friend and mine, Steve Jolley. So keep it here, please. Thanks. Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. Today's guest played 147 times for this year's soccer team. He was a 2001 MLS All-Star, and for the past decade plus, he has been Matt Harmon's BFF on Red Bulls Radio, where he serves as the analyst, delivering the analysis. That's our friend and yours, Steve Jolley. Welcome back to Seeing Red, my friend. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. Just, living the dream, working hard to become the best person I can be. You know, those things.
Every day and in every way, better and better.
Yeah.
New York has not really figured out a way to be better and better at Foxboro. That was
tough.
That was as flat a performance, especially in the first half, as I can remember, with fouls setting up key scoring opportunities, both the big scoring opportunities for Carl's Hill. Raheem Edwards passing more often to members of the Revs than to the Red Bulls, and not a lot of ideas again until the second half and things started to click. What are your big takeaways out of a match like this where, VAR giveth and VAR taketh away?
I think I need a drink after hearing you right there.
Yeah.
Pretty dark. Yeah. I mean, we struggled. Let's just be honest. And I think one of the things that keeps me kind of cautiously optimistic about the team as it being early in the season is the fact that both Sandra Schwartz and the captain Forsberg let the team have it a little bit. They knew that it wasn't good enough. And quite frankly, over the course of a season, that might be the best thing that ever happened to us, is that everybody understands that where they stand. I think everybody in that locker room recognized that wasn't good enough and that certain individuals, in key moments made some mistakes, and, it happens. My biggest thing, overarching theme of this team right now is that we had an opportunity against a New England team that I don't think was particularly very good.
No.
And in those situations, you do whatever's necessary when it's not, when you're not playing well on the day, to figure out a way to get a point and get the heck out of there. And we didn't do that. And I struggle with that. Do I think that, I think the problems that we're having are pretty, at least obvious to me, in reference to some players missing and not stretching the defense, I think is a big factor right now. And do I know for a fact that Coach Sandra Schwartz knows exactly that, and he's trying to get them to do what he wants them to do? And you can see the frustration on his face and his mannerisms all on the sideline. So I understand, I get it, and it's going to be tough for him. And when you look at the next couple of weeks against Chicago and Orlando, the Chicago, he's going to be busy. He's going to be. Those are two teams that they're going to come at us.
Yeah. I want to get into Chicago in a minute. Obviously, a very different look Chicago than we've seen for the last few years, although the Red Bulls have not really found out a way how to get around them for a while. But I guess the back-to-back performances against Toronto and New England speak, with the caveat that, yes, without Lewis Morgan, without a healthy Cam Harper, there are dimensions of the offense that are just kind of lacking. The irony is, the last 2 goals that New York has scored have been kind of up the gut, quick passing sequences, the kind of which we really haven't seen a lot of from New York over the last little while. But both Toronto and New England now are situations where the team has played down to the level of the opponent. And it's something that I think has kind of dogged New York a bit during this era, whatever you call the era in between the Shield team and Forsberg's arrival. Just kind of listless and not really getting into it. Chicago is coming in this weekend with a full head of steam. They're unbeaten in 5. They're scoring tons of goals. What scares you the most here?
Can I back up just one question?
Yeah, sure.
Just so what do you feel in terms of, you mentioned Morgan and Cam Harper? What 2 elements of their game or them being is missing?
Yeah, for me, it runs into the box, and I'm seeing a lot of static play. I see a lot of Forsberg moving into the channels and not getting the ball. I see a lot of square and backwards balls being played by the 6s. I'm seeing perhaps a lack of confidence going down the wing, and I'm seeing wingers seemingly unwilling or able to take a man on. When you look at the goal that Yengar scored against Orlando, it was because Stroud made an overlapping run, and Yengar made a great run to the near post. And those are the types of movements that I'm not seeing, at least over the last game and a half. What do you think?
No, I'm with you 100%. In that respect, is having that confidence to put your head down and run at defenders. I'm not necessarily seeing right now, and that's what Cam's probably greatest strength is. I think what we saw in the final quarter or let's just say the final quarter of last season, Lewis Morgan stretching out defenses, playing that long ball and stretching out defenses. I don't know if we particularly have seen somebody run off Choupo's shoulder the way I think we need to run off Choupo's shoulder and where he can be a greatest asset. I'm glad that Forsberg's doing Forsberg things, and I'm glad that Choupo is playing well and playing, entire 90 minutes almost.
Yeah.
He's done a great job in that respect. And I think there's some clarity in terms of, maybe quote unquote, what is wrong right now, which is going to help us, I think, a little bit in terms of, it's not like we're giving up, 15 goals right now and everybody's like, what the heck is going on here? I think we are not maximizing also the luxury of having a guy like Ayla and Hack who are so good with the ball at their feet to to make runs off the ball and be creative and just have no fear that knowing that once Choupo and Forsberg get the ball, that if I run off them, they're going to find a way to get me the ball. And that makes me cautiously optimistic in terms of how obvious it is to you, me, and the coaching staff, because they see it as well.
They see it as well, like you said. I was very optimistic as well when I saw what Sofo and Goma and Forsberg were doing together. I thought that whole period from the 65th minute to like the 85th minute, where there were a number of breakdowns, and you can make the argument that with a little more clinical finishing, New York could have walked out there with 3 points. Absolutely. I'm really glad that Goma stayed on the field. I'm really glad that Sofo's back, because these are the type of players that have the speed that Choupo and Forsberg don't, frankly. I don't think that's a shocking statement. And they can they can make interesting runs. And I appreciate that Shores was able to realize that the 5-man back was just not getting enough chances in the first half. And I appreciate, and that's something that he's always good at, is recognizing at halftime what's not working and going and changing it. I think those players, Sofo, Goma, for sure, they just need the reps and they need the minutes to get solid. But again, there are plenty of doomers and gloomers, as doomy and gloomy as you can be in week 6, with the understanding that, important pieces of your attack are out. But again, Chicago now coming in on a full head of steam. The Red Bulls haven't beaten them in like 5 or 6 tries. And Hugo Kuipers is kind of the, finally for Chicago, he's the DP that's kind of showing up in a way that their previous DPs haven't.
Yeah, they're getting a little bit of, obviously, the new coach bump, which is always nice for them.
And a good coach.
Yeah, he's a great, he's good MLS coach. I like him personally. Don't get me wrong. I do think they are, they give up goals. They're trying to organize themselves too. So I tend to believe that, that idea of can do something and need to do something is what we need to correct, right? We can have players who stretch out their defense, but we're not doing that. So we need them to stretch out that defense, because if they do stretch out the defense of Chicago, I personally feel opportunities are going to come because they have a leaky defense.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mean, I'm not there during the week, but I know what they're going to be working on. And I think this is an opportunity if we can kind of state, our will on the Chicago team. They're a good team. They're a much better team, and they're playing better. They're organized. That they got the belief system that is always really important. But again, like I often think that, as you mentioned, we're playing at teams' levels, and that's not good. And I think this might be a rallying call. And I'm hopeful, going back to my previous statement of Coach Sandro Schwartz and Forsberg publicly after the game, letting the team have it a little bit, because I know what they're doing inside it. And it's like, don't underestimate the value of being public sometimes about saying it's not good enough, as opposed to when it's just in the locker room. And
yeah. And again, playing at home is going to be a bonus. The weather doesn't, stop me if you've heard this before, the weather doesn't look great. But I would like to think, I mean, this would be a great team to play to the level of on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
If they can pick it up and be active in the attack and take advantage, I think that's a big deal. I'm one of those people that believes that the league is better with a strong team in Chicago. I think it's such a great soccer town. It can be, and it's such a great sports town that if the team is able, now they're back at Soldier Field, if the team is able to put some wins together, and they haven't played a lot at home, but to get some momentum. And I mean, Mansueto, the owner, has tried it a bunch of different ways since he got there. I think he may have it right. So, other thoughts in general? You want to talk about what you saw with the U.S. team, perhaps the week before last? And we're almost
speaking about calling out players. I will only say this: I think Landon Donovan hit it right on the nose.
Yes,
I'll leave it at that.
Can you remind our listeners what he said? Something to the effect of, it's not about wearing the shirt. It's about
the pride and wearing the jersey, and don't accept the invitation if you're not going to show up.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and he's a guy clearly that always showed up. Always.
And that's it's like what we've been taught, at least what, I think everybody's been taught, is sometimes you just don't have it on the day. But the one thing you can control is, your temperament and your effort. And I question some things that were going on the last couple weeks.
I just think, there are 8 guys on that starting lineup that know that they're just going to be there, and that there's no fear of getting sat down, and and they just kind of make the plane trip, and they kind of just show up. I mean, it's such a strange thing that we're now 15 months away from this, and we seem a bit just lost in the woods. It's like, I mean, this could be an unbelievable opportunity. And listen, maybe as to allude to what you were saying earlier, maybe crashing out and finishing 4th in this little weekend tournament is the one thing that they needed to wake up and say, hey, this is real, guys. Come on. I don't put much concern in the idea that, a CONCACAF event at 4:00 on a Thursday afternoon in LA, there's 10,000 people in the stadium. I don't have a problem with that, because when it's time to really play, that won't be an issue. And I think fans will come out, but to just play like a limp noodle, just disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'd go so far as to say, kind of what Tab Ramos said about wasting 7 years. I don't know if I'd go that extreme. I do think, I always try to my best of my ability, throw a positive spin on things. I think it might be the best thing that could happen for Pooch to be able to now light a fire under everybody. Because not only he pretty much has an entire nation behind him now. He has obviously, the historical best figures that have ever played U.S. soccer frustrated, whether it's Dempsey or, Landon Donovan or anybody else, Tim Howard, who are on there, who are beyond frustrated. I mean, I think even, some comments by, Tyler and what he had to say, I think was interesting and illuminating. And, I am really, really hopeful that they get this fixed sooner rather than later based on how important next summer is.
TikTok. The last thing I want to ask you about before I let you go is USL adding ProRel and what that might mean, post World Cup. And obviously there's a big boom, and I know they want to put teams in some MLS markets. I think Dallas is getting a team, not everyone obviously, but in a world where you need $500 million now to join MLS. Is there room? I mean, more soccer is always good, and more soccer teams is always good. But I'm just curious what your overall thoughts are. I think Tyler, you jog my memory, because I think Tyler was quoted this week as saying he'd love to see ProRel in MLS someday.
Yeah. So I struggle with this a little bit, partly because of my background and knowing the league and working for the league at some point, and then also what I did in terms of the union and stuff like that. So I kind of try to stay objective in terms of what I think MLS has done over the last 30 seasons, 30 years almost, and what they're trying to accomplish. Do I like the fact that there was a little bit of competition to make them reevaluate certain aspects of their business model? Of course. Do I think USL made the decision because they knew that they needed to get extreme to be competitive? Yes, absolutely. I think that says a lot. I'm currently in Virginia Beach right now, and if there is ever a market that would be great in terms of a USL team that has an ability to go up to a higher level, knowing the economics of the USL system as opposed to MLS system, you can see why it's competitive. Yeah. And there's going to be, I wouldn't say fear necessarily on the MLS side, but there is going to be a recognition that if they can create a compelling product, if they, being USL, can make a creative product with something that I think a majority of fans appreciate in pro reg, then we got a whole new situation here, especially after the World Cup. So it'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting to see how many fans of soccer business models choose to come out, because we've heard, for those of us that are engaged on social media, right, there's the group of people that are really, really excited about this.
Yeah,
they better come when this league launches, because if they don't, we know they're all full hooey. But
I would tell you, I have friends in the private equity world that are more than excited about this. Like knowing that there is a cheaper entryway into the sport,
yes,
and something unique, and the markets, and like you can understand why that world is very interested about what's happening. And there's a reason why that group has kind of stayed away and done more European models and global models. But now there's some money here that people are like, I've been getting calls that I haven't been getting calls about. Let's just say that. That's very interesting in my other world that I live in.
Yes.
And I'm just like, they're like, what do you think about this, Steve? And I'm like, oh God, here we go.
It'll be interesting for those owners that join the new Division I league with their eyes clear as day. Like, you're coming in, and if you finish 17th or 18th or 19th or 20th, you've got a 1-year stay before you go down. So I think it'll be interesting. But nevertheless, Steve Jolley, Red Bulls Radio, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend, and have a good call on the weekend.
I appreciate the time. Appreciate you guys and everything that you do. And it's great seeing you. It's great spending time with you, buddy.
Awesome. We've got more Sing Red coming up after this short break, so keep it here. Thank you. That guitar riff. It's Sing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. Thanks for coming back, everyone. You can email us every week at singredny@gmail.com. Do with that. There it is. 3 emails this week. Here's Greg Gomez, who says, well, guys, the House of Horrors is back. The Gillette curse was never broken, and Pro is no help either. I can't believe I still believe in 2025 we can get a result away at the Revs. What the hell was I thinking? And I'm sorry, but clear and obvious shouldn't require a referee to look at the monitor for multiple views. totally painful call by the ref that absolutely handled the results of the home team. And with a red hot Chicago who's great on the road coming to town next week, I fear we are digging a deep, deep hole early in the season. Is it time to panic? That's Greg Gomez in midseason form in week 6, a longtime listener of the show. Thank you, Greg. We love you. Is it time to panic? Mike?
Depends on your definition, because I did
what, of time or panic or it?
Well, here's the deal. I did a preview with Blazing Musket about this game, and they asked me about New York Red Bulls April. And I said that, okay, we're going to beat DC United and we're going to beat CF Montreal like later this month. That's 6 points. And I said that Orlando City, probably we lose to them because of how well they played us at home.
Yeah.
But so if that happens, and if what I predicted happens against Chicago Fire, that's 3 losses in a row. And then there's 2 wins in a row, right? Back to back. So I think this has the potential to be a really bad stretch for the New York Red Bulls, followed by 2 wins. And then we play Messi. So that's great. But overall, get through the bad. Like, get through these two.
Take your lumps.
These 2 juggernauts, Chicago
of the Eastern Conference
and Orlando. Yeah. Take those, and that former Open Cup champions, and then you go into hopefully some points against Atlantic Cup, Troy Lesane, and the Canadians.
Yeah, who now have a new coach. As you said, I mean, this is an interesting stretch for between now and Memorial Day, because it's Chicago, Orlando, DC, Montreal, Miami, LA Galaxy at home, Nashville, NYC Derby away, DC United, and then Charlotte, who's playing very well. And then there's an Open Cup game or 2 in there as well. The team desperately needs players to start coming back and healthy. And I think Cam Harper, from what I saw at practice last week, he was not practicing with the team last week. I believe he's starting to integrate back with the first team this week, and we'll know more on Thursday when we speak with the team. But yeah, they just need more creativity and interesting and stones, frankly, in the attack. And they need, as we talked about with Steve Jolley, they need wingers who can get around the corner and wingers that will go to the end line.
Just put the men in the box. Just put people in the box.
Yes, do that. Greg, as always, thank you. Would you care to read the next email? Can you do that from your vantage point?
I can.
From Zach Feldman, who we know very well, please.
Zach Feldman. Good evening, Mark and Mike. I was writing today with a message to the New York Red Bulls fan base.
Oh.
I thought we would have learned from last season, but apparently not. We are 6 games into the regular season. A key piece of our offense is missing. Our fans need to relax with all the pessimism. Let's go.
Yeah.
At some point, it borders on ridiculous. In this league, it is about getting hot at the right time. 99% of the regular season does not matter. That's debatable. For crying out loud, last year we went on the run of nearly 3 months without a win, and we made MLS Cup. Our first choice front 3 has played 1 game this season. Our first choice 11 has not played a single game this season. Choupo is still getting up to speed. To jump to conclusions, 6 games into the season is ridiculous. Let's think logically for a moment. You could get 10 wins and make MLS Cup, or win MLS Cup. We have an open DP spot in the summer. We have a returning Lewis Morgan in May. Carballo is going to be up to speed. Morales should hopefully be back soon. There are reasons for optimism. Yours truly, Zach. There we go.
There's we go.
There's what I'm talking about.
There's the voice of reason coming in.
Yeah, he's totally right, too. I won't totally agree that the MLS is in that weird spot where it's not the NFL where every game matters, but it's also not baseball where you could just stink for a month and still make the playoffs, because the Mets usually do that. But what I'm going to say is that, like, you do need to, like, have some consistency, because it wasn't like not last year, the year before, we had to wait till decision day to make it to the playoffs. So
94th minute in decision day too.
94th minute. Thank you, John Tolkien. But at the end of the day, it's totally right. We are 6 games in. We aren't healthy. Our front line is 36-year-old guys and children. So we don't have any consistency right now. When things start getting healthier, when players start getting healthier, and if that doesn't work, then we hit the Timo Werner button. But for right now, we're just kind of rolling with the punches and trying to take the good.
And we are above the line. And above the line in week 6 gets you nothing. But at the same time, it could be a whole lot worse. And as you again heard from Steve Jolley, I don't think there are any surprises among the coaching staff as to what has to be better. They know what has to be better.
They've been saying it every week. Every week, Sandro has come on like the post game, and even when they win, he talks about
it's not good yet.
It's not good. Like, we have to finish games. Like that Toronto game, we have to finish games.
Yeah.
Now I think the only game where he was kind of happy was the Nashville one, and I don't even think we expected to like dominate Nashville that well. So
and that's Nashville's only loss, or certainly I don't know what they did last week.
I got you. Yeah. Nashville has 1 tie, 2 losses.
Okay, so they lost this week, but nevertheless, yeah. They're rounding into form as well. So, in any case, Zach Feldman provides our stats every week, and we thank him for the note. Here's our last email of the night. It's Jeff Cooley. Hello, Seeing Red. Hello. I never like forming real opinions about a team until at least 6 weeks into the season. Since we're finally here, I can confidently say I'm disappointed, but in a familiar way. We can't score without Morgan. We struggle as a team when we're forced to perform with our second-string players, and that leaves us stuck playing to the level of our opponent. All too familiar problems. We should not have lost to New England. We deserve to, but this team is better than that. I was thinking about the answer Sean Nealis gave to you, Mark, during the pregame interview. He mentioned how it seemed to take time to acclimate to Gillette, and then we would end up on the back foot. Well, he was right. The turf and the weather definitely made an impact. I didn't see the ball stay on the ground through the midfield for what seemed like most of the game. Even when it was on the ground, lots of first touches were loose, and lots of second touches were trying to compensate for the bad first touches. We struggled to play in tight most of the game, and that favored New England. With the game being so kickball-esque, I also thought it really exposed Hack on his lack of pace. New England's forward wasn't allergic to shooting. We could have lost 4-1, despite Coronel's outstanding performance. I think our backline played well with the ball in front of them, but the balls behind them are a huge weakness. And Edwards is fast, at least, but he's always too far forward during transitions and wildly inconsistent in his quality game to game. On the bright side, Choupo-Moting is delivering. We signed another European veteran talent, and he's living up to the hype for me. He's everything we wanted in Fabio and Fletcher and Burke, but still never got. I still can't believe how well he holds the ball up with pressure on his back. And after watching the list of names above for so long, I forgot it was even possible. And now the goals are coming. I'm just happy we signed him. And if we can get Morgan back and our midfield can get a little bit better, I think we have a very strong attack. This was a bad game, but hopefully just that, one bad game. We're under a lot of stress from injuries and the season is young. I will choose to believe we are closer to the team that played in Atlanta, Orlando, and Nashville. We can and should turn it around. Let's go Red Bull. Jeff, that's another voice of reason here, my friend.
I'm sorry. I'm still laughing at the question you gave Sean Nealis and him talking how it takes time to acclimate to Gillette. And my brain immediately went to the South American World Cup qualifiers where you get these dudes just with the air mask over their face.
Right.
It's like, yeah, you can't deal with New England. You just got to like pump the air into you.
But he's not wrong though. I mean,
it's wild.
The team in the first half just did not look good. They didn't look good defending. They didn't look good attacking. I know we got our goal in the first half, but it just did not look good. Listen, Forsberg has 3 goals. Choupo-Moting has 2. Yengar and Sofo each have 1 each. Our leading assist man is Peter Stroud right now, which is let's go,
down, man.
Let's go.
Look, I will say I am slightly concerned that Emil Forsberg is our leading goal scorer. because he shouldn't be. He's never been a leading goal scorer for a team. He's always just been the playmaker. He's never he could be the PK guy, but I mean, unless we're doing that, what was it, 22, where we just kept scoring PKs over and over.
Yes.
That is something I can worry about, and I don't like the Red Bull fans going, we need someone to break out. We're not going to have someone break out. We're going to have a goal by committee situation. We always do. And that's fine because it can work. No one in this league, except for like 2 players, will break out, and like maybe Messi. So at the end of the day, like, this is fine. I will say we do need people besides Emil to score for me to be comfortable.
Yeah, and for me, that's Cam Harper and Lewis Morgan. And Yengar throws, if Yengar gets to 5 or 6 goals, if Sofo, whose first goal was a surprise, I think, for everybody, gets to 5 or 6, if we can get Goma on the score sheet, like, the confidence that these players will have with getting real minutes. And then, of course, we all have to see if Bogac is going to get on the field and what he can do. So, I agree with you that we don't necessarily want Forsberg leading in that way, but he certainly was clinical against Toronto for the winning goal, and so yeah, it's all good.
And it's still 6 weeks in.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. We've come to an end of another terrific episode of Seeing Red. Our friend Mike Battista calls it a 3-1 loss on Saturday.
Yeah, I'll say 3-1 loss, so you can add the positive vibes for me.
All right, and I'm going to call it a 2-2 draw. Again, Michael, where can folks find you? Certainly glued to YouTube for the next 2 days for
me and Josh Heichel are going to be, drinking
all
Red Bull or coffee.
About
that. So you could find me on Blue Sky, Battista at Battista.bluesky.social. You can find me still on Twitter at Michael Battista. You could find me writing about local soccer for Hudson River Blue. You can find me writing about the Red Bulls for New York Sports Nation. And sometimes you could find me writing about the U.S. Open Cup for U.S. Soccer.
Fantastic. Thanks to Zach Feldman for stats. Thanks to Steve Jolley for stopping by. Always great to talk to Steve. And thank you as well for watching episode 607 of Seeing Red. Let's go Red Bulls. Be warm and dry this Saturday, okay? We'll talk to you next week.